All right, Shalom, Yasharala, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachak, Wadajdo, honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders, great millstone, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, Shalom, Yasharala, Shalom. All right, it's not going to be too long for a chapter here. I don't have much juice anyways, but the chapter's pretty much straightforward. Exodus chapter 1, all right, it says the death of Joseph. We're in Genesis chapter 50, the last chapter in Genesis, because it leads up into that history. That's precept by faith. Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones, all right, which was to take his bones with them, all right, out of Egypt when they left. Now that was history, obviously, after we departed from Egypt, but that was fulfilled, the prophecy. So Genesis 15:22 says, and Joseph, Yalsop dwelt in Mount Zarim in Egypt, he and his father's house, and Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. All right. So, because Ephraim, you had Manasseh and Ephraim, all right, his two children. Okay, so you talk about grandchildren, great grandchildren, great great grandchildren, all right. It says, and Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation, the children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and the Most High will surely visit you. All right. He says, I die, and the Most High will surely visit you. Meaning, and now this is not said exactly, but you can pretty much extrapolate that, because when you go into Exodus, what happened? Those heavy burdens were placed on the Israelites. And then it tells you that the Lord says he heard the affliction of the children of Israel. But let's get to it. It says, and the Most High will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. So he's, speaking of prophecy, that the Lord was going to deliver you out of the land of Egypt. But why would he say that he's going to deliver you out of Egypt? Because for one, we were in captivity, wasn't our land. Now Joseph was put up in a place of power, but that was for sake of prophecy, right? Or if you really want to get direct with it, it was to save his family, man, because there was a famine within the land, right? So Joseph became second in Egypt. Pharaoh made him ride in his chariot and so on and so forth. He was made second in Egypt. So when the famine came, right, you have to read into all that history yourself. We're just gonna try to keep it more simple. When the famine came, eventually they had to come to Egypt to get food, and Joseph revealed himself, and he brought his family into Egypt, which is where we ended up being in the land of Goshen. All right, and a lot of people, some individuals are familiar with the Hyksos. All right, if you look into the Hyksos, they were in the same general area where the Israelites were supposedly at in Goshen. Okay, and they were supposed to be, what's the term they use for them? Shepherd kings or something like that. All right, so these had to be Israelites. All right, but let's keep reading. It says, and Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and the Most I will surely visit you and bring you out of this land into a land which he sware unto Abraham, which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, like by promise, right? It says, and Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, the Most High will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died, and being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. All right. So as we move on to the point here in chapter 1, I guess we'll pull up the Strongs. You never know, we might need it. It says, Israel multiplies in Egypt. It says, now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob, which is what we were just mentioning there. It says, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, and all the souls that came out of his loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. All right, and you notice it mentioned the 12. I guess you could say original 12, because at this point Dan was there. All right, but it mentions these 12 individuals. All right, so it says, and Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. Okay, so the 12 patriarchs passed on. Joseph died, and then eventually his 11 brothers passed on as well. All right. Joseph died and all his brethren and all that generation. So all that, the older generation, right? So it says, and the children, so, this is showing you a major time jump here. It seems like it's, kind of right after, but really, because it says Joseph saw, up to the third generation of Manasseh, right? So you had great great grandchildren that were alive, right? But the older generations, right, were closer to those, the 12 patriarchs, right? Those passed away in certain generations, right? And so, it doesn't take a long time for, things to change, all right? Things to be forgotten. It doesn't take a long time for that to happen. So it says, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. All right. It says waxed exceeding mighty. Let's get the word mighty. It says to be vast, be numerous. All right. Be mighty. Okay. Because they were, popping out babies. All right. Jake like to have babies. All right. How do we get back here? Go over here. So it says, and the land was filled with them. Okay. Growing in numbers. So verse 8 says, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Right. Now, as a matter of fact, let me get my blue. I'm just curious what this word um new goes into. Okay. You die, all right, to know. Okay, so all right. Look, here it is, to be acquainted with. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't know who Joseph was, all right? But then again, it could be, right? It depends on the time past, all right? But anyways, it says, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. All right, there's more number than them. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there fall out any war, they join also with our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. All right. And this right here is something that calls back later on. Okay, when you get to the point where Moses, was sent, to Pharaoh, right, with the message, let my people go that they may serve me, right? That this verse really comes into play around those times, because it says, come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it comes to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. In other words, that they get their freedom. All right, because they join with the enemy nation attacking us. All right, because the enemy nation comes, they see that our slaves are rising up, to fight next to them. They might say, hey, okay, let's all assist. Let's overcome these Egyptians. And in his mind, this new Pharaoh, he's thinking like, well, and if we lose that battle, then these enemies that overtook us may say, hey, thank you Israelites for our thanks to you Israelites for assisting us in the overthrow of these Egyptians. We'll give you your freedom. All right. But that's in the mind of this man. All right. So it says, therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. Let's get the word burdens. I don't know why I slipped. We're going to get it anyways. All right. Sabalah, burden, forced labor, compulsory service, burden bearing. You have forced labor, servitude, slavery. Right. Load, burden, to bear load, drag oneself along. Right. Same thing. All right. And it says taskmasters. All right. Which, sure. All right. Mas. Come on. Here we go. Gang or body of forced laborers, task workers, labor banner gang, forced service, task work, serfdom, which is slavery. All right. Tributary. All right. Tribute, levy, taskmasters, discomfited. And this is interesting that discomfited is there. Labor band, labor gang, slave gang, and gang overseers. Forced service, serfdom, tribute, enforced payment. And that's, and all those things parallel, but that key thing there is gang overseers, right? Individuals that will set up over us, in those slave labors. All right. So we don't need that. So it says to afflict them with their burdens. All right. It says, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. Okay. So it says, but the more, which goes to show you that, a lot of these ancient structures were built by Israelites. Okay. Just like Americans were built off the back of Israelites. There's different structures. All right. In ancient Egypt, we'll say, because I guess some of them still stand, but not all of them were built by Israelites. But you get my point. A lot of ancient structures that were built by Israelites, man. Okay. And these are just two that were, built by us, under Ramses, all right? Treasure cities. So it says, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel, all right? So their plan didn't work, okay? We're still growing in numbers. And even though they afflicted us more by setting up taskmasters over us, we kept multiplying, all right? We kept spreading in numbers. Okay, and that's all through the spirit and power of the Lord. It says, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. This is something you often hear me mention, man. All right, the word there is parak. Okay, it means harshness, severity, cruelty. Okay, serving with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. Yeah. So in the building up of these treasure cities and things of that nature, we also had to build, gather and build up the materials to build these treasure cities, man. And it says with hard bondage in mortar and in brick in all manner of service of the field. Okay. So different areas. So everybody was working from the men to the women to the children. So it says, and the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, and some scholars seem to think that this is um I forget his name. Is it Tuten? Not Tutankhamun. I forget his name. One of those. I forget his name, but it's someone from the 18th dynasty around that time period. All right, he was the third, something the third. I forget these names because these heathen names. All right, but anyways, it says, and the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. I think I've gone into these names before. Okay. Yeah, fair. Shiphrah meaning fair. One of the two Hebrew midwives who were ordered by Pharaoh to kill all the male children born to the Hebrews, but who disobeyed. All right. And the other Puah, who her name means splendid. So fair and splendid. And those are, two very good names for those particular midwife Hebrew Israelite women. All right. Midwives. Okay. Because they were supposed to put, children to death, but they weren't doing that. All right. They disobeyed, what Pharaoh had decreed. All right. So it says, and he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. All right. Because the men are most important. It goes to show, especially you women think that you're more important. You play your portion, but life is in the seed of men. So how does this Egyptian Pharaoh understand that? And it tells us that in Numbers chapter 1. So how did this Egyptian Pharaoh understand that if I cut off the seed line, I cut off the children being born? Because if I cut off the women, all right, that's one thing. But what if those men start to lay with our women? They're still bringing Hebrew Israelite children to the world, but it's through our women now. Okay, which actually, some of our men at some point actually had some Egyptian women. Okay, but anyways, you get the point there. But if I cut off the male seed, all right, or the male child, I'm cutting off the seed that brings life, regardless of what woman is through, because the woman doesn't matter, but that father matters, because that's the seed line. That determines the nationality. So if I cut off the nationality, all right, I'm cutting off that seed line. So Pharaoh understood that. It says, and he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Because even they can take these daughters and make more Egyptian children from the Hebrew Israelite women. Okay. Wheel, disc, potter's wheel, bearing stool, midwife stool. Okay. So basically, just you know, where they were sitting down in front to receive the child. Basically, just looking to it. I see going back. So it says, but the midwives feared the Most High because these were Hebrew women, right? Remember that the midwives feared the Most High and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. All right, because it was already decreed the women are okay, the female children are okay, but the male children you put to death. All right, it says in the king of Egypt, but yet you have women today who want to they use rights, right? And it's all about being able to delete a child or not. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, but you look at our women back then versus these women now. All right, they want the right to delete their child, and Esau is going to give it to them. All right, and the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively. Let's get the word lively. Vigorous, lively, having the vigor of life, having a bunch of babies, and they have them so quickly. All right, well, we there's not enough, of us to go around, and they were basically making up a lie. All right, but this was a good lie because it was for the sake of the children of Israel. So it says, and the midwives said unto Pharaoh, and they also lied to Pharaoh, so it doesn't matter anyways, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ear. The midwives come in unto them. Let's get the word ear, right? Saram, Taram, before, not yet, before that. So there's not much they give you there. Current use of verbally, not yet, or before. All right, so as a matter of fact, let's see what this reads in another translation. What verse was it? It says, but the midwives feared the Most High with profound reverence, which is respect, and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded, but they let the boy babies live. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this thing and allowed the boy babies to live? The midwives answered Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth quickly, you see, and their babies are born before the midwife can get to them, you see. So they had the children and slid out somewhere before we even had a chance to come and see if it was a male child or not. And if it was a male child, we could put them to death for you, old Pharaoh. They lied to him. All right. NLT. It says, the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. The midwives reply, they are more vigorous and have their babies so quickly that we cannot get there in time. You see? So let's get it. All right. It says, verse 20 says, therefore the Most High, uh, uh, because they did this, 3:19 again, and the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ear, the midwives come in unto them. All right. Before we have a chance to even get there, baby is born and gone, and we don't know what happened. All right. Therefore, the Most High dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mightily. All right. So the Most High blessed these women, all right, for fearing him instead of fearing Pharaoh. And what happened says, and it came to pass because the midwives feared the Most High, that he made them houses. See, they got houses for their integrity, for their fear of the Lord that they kept. It says, and Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. So he doubled down on the same thing that he said before. All right. And this only spirals even further as we move on with the book of Exodus. Now, we're not going to go through all the entire book of Exodus. I really just want to go up to, you know, certain chapters, the deliverance and, all those different things. So we'll see where the Spirit takes us. But, this chapter was very simple and straightforward. But we want to also read Genesis 50, the history that leads up to this, after Joseph, because Joseph is also mentioned. All right, so that was all I have for you on this one. All right, Exodus chapter 1. So Lord will you edify to next thing. I'm going to say shalom.